I'm Kirk Strongman at the Rank You Amateur Rocker. Thank you for selecting this video on the Cartel. Before I continue, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now's your chance. Do it now. That way you can also activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of my new uploads. Also, right now, you can share the joy of this channel by giving this video a thumb up. Do it now, lest you forget to do it later. The Cartel. Not sure how I'm going to make this appropriate for my channel or, fit right in. Somehow this is supposed to be a bit of my own life that turns into something that'll help you out. But I'm not sure how to do that yet. And I'm not real certain on whether I should even be putting all this here in the first place just because of the content. But here we go. I guess instead of just calling it the Cartel, it should be when I walked away from the Cartel. All right. In my early 20s. And when I first moved to New York City, I was a marijuana dealer. Back where I came from, the little town I came from at the age of 19, that's what I did. That's what I was doing. I did it in high school. Very small time. I took some of them, a couple big bags of my marijuana to New York City. That, and enough for a month's rent, and enough for, a cover month, like 2 months' rent in cash. That's all I had. So I sold off the weed, and I kept going with that. I found some places to buy it, get people to buy it from, and I sold weed on the streets. 9th Street. 9th Street between 1st Avenue and 2nd Avenue, I think, or Avenue A and 1st Avenue. On the street, okay? Eventually, I got the selling into my apartment, from my apartment. A few choice customers. Somebody apparently liked the way I did it. A very sizable Puerto Rican guy knocked on my apartment door once. I opened it. I didn't like him. I didn't like the fact that he knocked on my door and I didn't know who he was. Then he said his cousin just upstairs, who I knew, Tudo, he was the super of the building, sent him to knock on my door because that's where he could buy some weed from me. Well, I didn't like my super either. This was not the way I do things. This was totally forbidden. So I stared at the guy. He seemed peaceful enough. I said, all right, we can talk about it. But before you even get into that, I need you to strip off all your clothes and empty out all your pockets right there, right now. All of it. Naked. I need to know who you are and what you're bringing with you. Well, we compromised. He emptied out all of his pockets, showed me his wallet and all of this. All right, opened up his shirt. I said, all right, come in. I sat him down, and I told him never, ever knock on my door again. And you tell your cousin to mind his own fucking business. Well, this guy seemed to like the way I did things so much. He bought $10 worth. Came back 2 weeks later and knocked on my door. I opened the door, there he was again. He said, I want to talk to you. I like what happened here 2 weeks ago. This guy turned out to be an international runner and a troubleshooter, dog. This is back in early 1980s, all right? for one of the 5 big Colombian cartels in cocaine cartels, you know, in the jungle, the factory, the mansion, the estate, the empire, the land, the property, what's grown on it. This is manufacturing, growing and manufacturing home for cocaine around the world. One of the 5 cartels. I'm not gonna, no, I'll not name the people who ran it. The woman who owned it, who got this all passed down from her grandfather. Her grandfather was still there as the head chemist. Alright. This guy at my door not only knew them personally, but spent much time down there. And in Miami and New York City and wherever else he needed to go. He selected me because he liked the way I handled things. To be an outlet. Selected me to be an outlet for some of his extra cocaine sitting around. Now, this cocaine was fresh from the jungle. This was not smuggled in by somebody else. This was direct from the from the operation, from the from the factory right there in the Colombian jungle, with all the their army and their militia, their everything. All right, this was always absolutely untouched, pure high grade, cocaine. It was always exactly the same. He just wanted to front me some if I'd like that. He gave me some tips on how to make money with it. I didn't even like cocaine. But I thought, this is my chance, perhaps, to have a dream come true. I've said before, in my past, I've been a criminal. I was criminally minded. One of my aspirations when I was just selling little bits of weed in high school was to someday make it right to the top. Of the illegal drug business. Right to the top. All the way to the top. I had no idea how to get there. I knew it would be very dangerous getting even near that point. Suddenly, I was there. I said yes. All I had to do was pay up and then give me more. I wasn't part of the cartel. I was somebody on the side. But I was definitely hooked in right to the core. I actually met the beautiful, about 35-year-old Colombian woman who ran the whole thing. The one whose grandfather started it all long ago and is still the head chemist. And he turned the business over to his daughter. I met her in New York City with the guy who was knocking at my door. And I met her husband, who was in charge of all the security operations, all the collections, all the nasty shit. My guy worked for both of them directly. He often had dinner, banquet, in fact, at their table in their mansion. All right, I met them, and then she sent her younger brother once with my guy to just watch me. I would sell only to people, a few people who would come to my apartment and buy it. Here's another insert here. I learned how to freebase the stuff with ether. Within a short amount of time, like 2 months, I became extremely good at it. There are many variables in the procedure. A lot of ways to screw it up so it won't come out right. Then there are ways to just get it right. I surpassed all of that. It was as though I had an uncanny talent and skill with doing it. The word of that spread all the way to Colombia, to her and her husband, and she sent her younger brother to watch me do it. He never spoke a word. And he watched. He watched how I did it. I explained it as I went. Even if somebody else did exactly as I did right beside me, it wouldn't turn out like mine. No way. I have no explanation for this. Right? Her brother took word back. A couple of months later, my guy came to the door and he said, oh, before this, she called from Colombia once to my apartment. I guess my guy gave her my number. That's only fitting. That's the way they should do that. But I didn't work for them. Right? She called me and asked where my guy is. Have you seen so-and-so? Have you seen Chicky? Also went by the name Heavy, depending on what kind of contact he was making with somebody. What the nature of the interaction was. Chicky or Heavy. Have you seen Chicky? I told her that I have no idea who the hell she's talking about. And if I did, and I did know where he was, there's no way in hell I was going to tell her. I also told her to never call me again, for any reason. Just don't. She said, all right, and she hung up. All right. Then my guy came a couple months later. He had already congratulated me on handling that phone call just right. And now they wanted me to come to the jungle and work for them. I'd have a special job. Freebasing with ether for them. For them. For her. And her husband. Even their grandfather couldn't do it like that. Nobody could. I would have anything I want right there for the rest of my life. Anything. Women, girls, food, anything. I said no. Because I don't want to die there. If I went, I would never leave. Is that correct? And my guy said, that's right. I said, then no. He said, good choice. Then I got arrested on a highway in New Jersey. Coming back from New York City late one night to Pennsylvania. And in my car, I had a shitload of stuff. Scale, cutting materials, pharmaceutical tools, implements, spatulas, vials, flasks, cocaine, cut material, various different levels of cut of product, all in a box under a pile of trash behind my seat on the floor. It was found. I talked my way out of it. The charges were dropped about 5 months into the thing. I had been out on my own recognizance, facing 7 to 11 years in prison. And my story, my cover story for the whole thing, I told it right away to the state trooper, and I never changed it every time I was asked to repeat it. And finally, my probation officer, who I called on schedule on a Wednesday, I happened to be in the Bronx at an apartment my guy would sometimes stay in when in the Bronx. I had to call my PO. As I dialed the number from his phone, he said, "They're going to drop everything today." And then they did. On the phone. My PO said, "You don't have to call anymore. You're done." I said, "You mean I'm dead?" He said, "No. The charges are dropped. You're getting a traffic citation. That's it. For failure to stay inside your lane," which was completely untrue. I took it. I paid it. $100 or so. That was it. Then I got back into it with the guy. Still doing business. Then I got ripped off. Somebody took it all. And I could not pay. About 2 months later, that guy who was her brother came by in combat fatigues and jungle boots with a heavy chain around his neck, and a steel ball about the size of a pool ball on each end of the chain that was hanging around his neck. My guy was there. They needed the money now. We went into my apartment, into my bedroom. They told me what I owe, and I must pay now. I paid. And then I thought, I'm still gonna be dead in 5 minutes. Or at least those steel balls are gonna crush my kneecaps. But it didn't happen. They left as quietly as they came. And on the way out, my guy said, "You're like Superman as far as we're concerned. Nothing stops you. You're the best we've ever known. Anytime you want to pick up the phone and call us, just do it. Until then, have a good life." I never called. I walked out of it, just like that. I think that whole adventure, that whole enterprise, my entire involvement in that, my account of it right now, it involves a rather rare occurrence. from a small town dime bag weed dealer to the pinnacle of deadly drug trade, right to the top, and then said, I'm done. And they said, have a good life. And that's it. Now, how often do you hear of that kind of thing happening to somebody, huh? Well, I never did. Now, how can I turn this into something for you? All right, here's one for you. You know the material you're in my channel. You know what it's about. In case you're brand new here, I have nearly 800 videos. With the exception of maybe 2 or 3. They're all involve cognitive and practical instruction. For your mastery of self by self, your personal involvement, and your establishment of true selfhood, and your movements away from ignorance, consciousness hijacking, and perception deception. For all practical purposes. And you just sum that up by saying your current day means of salvation. Now, here, I just told you a bit of my past. So here's the point now. I just thought of it. I'm still that same person that I was back then. A lot has changed, but it's still I. I remember that. That and what I do now, just separated by time and a lot of, different thoughts, changes inside, and so forth. All right? And that was me. In a nutshell. Don't judge people when they offer you perhaps some useful bit of wisdom. Don't negatively judge that bit of wisdom based on something you know about their past. You never know who can do what. I don't have to have been born a monkey or a yogi to put here on my channel what I do. I've had a wild life. What I do here now is what I do best. And it's all genuine. People can amaze you. Like the video, give it a thumb up. Give it one anyway. Subscribe, get notified, share the joy of the channel with others. Thank you for selecting this video on when I left the cartel, whatever. I'm too strong enough to rock you, I'm a drug, be well.